I hope this is going to be one of the more fun, interactive, well, they're all fun. I don't want to, dismiss the other sessions. This is going to be a very interactive session. So, thank you so much for coming. I know there's a lot of great stuff on the program because I put the program together. So, thank you for choosing this. And as Pele said, sorry, didn't get it around the right way. Pele said, I'm Jodie Birchall. I am your moderator. And I'm running this panel with my friend Maria Jose. She is an AI scientist. I'm a data scientist. And we are very lucky to have 4 amazing panelists with us today. So to get started, I'm going to introduce each of them. We're going to start with Reyha. Reyha is an applied scientist at Amazon. Before joining Amazon, she worked at Arintra? That's right. Thank you. An early stage startup focused on automating medical coding, which is incredibly cool. And she developed AI ML pipelines for 4+ major US healthcare systems. She's also gained experience at Sprinkler and PayPal. She holds a master's degree in NLP from NUS, and she's worked on social science problems during her master's. So she's also giving a talk tomorrow about how to use AI for medical coding. So make sure you catch that. So welcome to Reyha. Our next amazing panelist is Jenny Vega. She is a software engineer with 8+ years of experience. She's currently working at Isomorphic Labs as an ML platform engineer, and she's building scalable and safe solutions using large language models. And she has an interest in AI safety and AI governance. Jenny's also giving a talk tomorrow about how to understand how LLMs make predictions, which is amazing, on mechanistic interpretability. So that one is actually just after Reyha's. We have, oh yes, thank you. Get this out of the way. We have Laura Summers. So Laura is a very technical designer. She is currently working at Pydantic as a lead design engineer, and she has a number of important side projects. One is called the Sweet Summer Child Score, which we're going to see more of today, and ethics litmus tests. And she also has a talk tomorrow about how Twitter's community notes algorithms works with Andy, who's sitting in the front row there. And she also has a talk today for Pydantic. And we are very lucky in a literal sense to have our 4th panelist, Kayode, who literally got his visa approved yesterday and arrived in Prague at 11 a.m. this morning. Yes. So Kayode is a data scientist and an AI researcher at Lawyers Hub, which is Africa's leading AI policy organization. He has a background in engineering and has built a career at the intersection of AI research, policy, and real-world applications. So he's actually got a poster, which I'm really excited about. I'm excited about all your talks, that's why I picked them. But it's about preserving a game called Ayo, which is a traditional Nigerian game, preserving that using AI. So you should definitely check that out. He'll be having his poster session tomorrow, but the posters are on display all throughout the conference. So today is designed to be really interactive. We're going to have around 45 minutes for questions, and as I said, I'm going to show you how to submit those in a second, though I think a lot of you have already signed in. So we have prepared, Maria Jose and I, already some questions for our panelists, but what we really want is to hear from you. I am sure a lot of you have a lot of questions about AI at the moment. That's why you're here. So please use the app to start sending in questions already. Maria Jose is going to be moderating them so that we can get a good mix of questions. But please start sending them in already if you've joined the Menti app. And they're going to be divided into 3 topics: the impact of AI in the workforce and environment, ethical and regulatory concerns, and the intersection between AI, media, and art. So at the end, we're also going to be having a small quiz, as I mentioned. It's going to have some fun AI-related questions. So one of the prizes, so we'll have 3 winners, top 3. Each winner will have their choice of prize. So one of the prizes is Naomi Cedars, The Quick Python book, very kindly donated by Maria Jose. And then the other two prizes are the last two physical copies of the the ethics litmus test in Europe, very, very kindly donated by Laura. These are so cool. I saw them at a Pi Ladies meetup last year. They're amazing, and thank you so much for donating them. So we're ready to start asking questions. So if you haven't joined the Menti app now, you can use the QR code, or as I said, go to menti.com and enter that code at the top, 52327003. While you're sending in your first questions, I'll just take a couple of minutes and maybe we'll get Laura to explain more about the ethics litmus test.
Thank you so much, Jody. It is a card deck, and it's intended to help you elicit the inner voice that asks you sticky questions that maybe you don't want to answer. I literally was inspired by The Good Place, if anyone has seen that TV show. Yes, it's amazing, right? I'm obsessed.
So
I've watched it at least twice all the way through. And also Brian Eno, who has a creative card deck. So it's a similar idea. It's a series of prompts and provocations. So one that I like is, would this be a good episode of Black Mirror? If the answer is yes, maybe step back and think about what you're doing. But yeah, it's literally a card deck. It has a set of instructions that give you different ways to play. So you could play it single player, you could play it with your colleagues, you can play it with you as the angel and you as the demon. Like, you could do it however you like, but it's a cute little card deck. It was a pain in the ass to put together, and I'm not doing it again soon, so these are the last two physical copies. But it is also online, and if you want the digital version, just go to ethicallitmus.site, and you will find it.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Are we ready for our first question? Not quite ready yet. All right, I need to do some improvisation. Okay, so who has sent in a question? It's my fault. Oh my God, I was the problem. Why didn't you shout at me?
Jody, you're the problem.
I am a problem. Okay, I'll give you another minute. So I guess, I don't know, it was a bit like the lightning talks last year. I had to come up with jokes that weren't offensive and didn't involve swearing. It was very difficult. What is everyone concerned about with AI at the moment? Oh, who's the problem? There we go. Is this our first question?
No, it's a joke.
Okay. I mean, I'm the problem, I guess. We already answered that question. All right, so we do have our first question now. Perfect. Okay, so for the panelists, our first question. If you're going to start to study AI today, where would you start? I know it's a hard question because I don't know if you're like me, but I haven't studied for quite a long time. Yeah.
Maybe I can take a stab.
Yeah.
This is what we
So I think about studying AI, it really depends on what you're studying for, what is your end goal. If you, let's say, want to be an applied scientist, I probably would say that you start with maths, calculus, just start from the basics, and then take a step and maybe get into like ML and learn the fundamentals. But if, let's say, you want to be a prompt engineer, I would just say that you need to know how to write a good prompt, and there are a few courses that tell you what is a good way to structure a prompt and what really helps, right? So I think it has to be a focused study. AI can mean a lot of things, and it really helps if you know what you are, what your end goal is and what you are trying to ultimately get out of that learning. Having said that, you can also learn AI just for fun. So it's an open world for you then. You can start from maths, you can start from prompt engineering, work backwards, work like from the scratch and go all the way till ML. So yeah, I think that would be my 2 cents on this.
Mm-hmm.
I'll plug a resource which is free from Jeremy Howard, which is the Practical Data Ethics course on, it's Fast AI, right?
I can't remember.
Fast AI, I think. Yeah, which is, just because we're talking about ethics and practical applications of data science. It has a lot of both very compelling instances of harm and useful intro to things like FairLearn, which Tamara spoke about earlier, and other approaches to debiasing, and also asking the question, is this even the right way to shape our tool? Could we think about stepping back and framing it differently? But it's very pragmatic. It was written by Rachel Thomas, that's Jeremy Howard's wife, and she's amazing, so highly recommend.
Yeah, so if this question was asked a couple years ago, say 4 or 5 years ago, the answer would be quite straightforward and different from what has been said. It will have been learn Python, go to Kaggle, learn a little bit of linear regression, logistic regression, decision tree, random forest, and the likes, because that was the aspect of AI, data science, that was trending at the time, that was the forefront of AI at the time. But since the boom of LLMs, the field has changed. It has opened new possibilities. Like, for example, there was nothing like prompt engineer 5 years ago. Correct me if I'm wrong. Exactly. So if you are starting into AI now, I think you want to define what you want, what kind of AI you want to do, what aspect of AI. Do you want to go to the research aspect or engineering aspect? If even in the research aspect, we have, in each of the aspects, we have different modalities. We have speech, we have text, we have images, vision, and all. So it depends on what you want. Define what you want in AI. AI is very, very wide. Like she said, AI ethics. AI ethics is a very, very big field, and it's going to get bigger as AI gets better. So AI ethics, AI research, computer vision, and the likes. So just to add to all what they've said, define what you want in AI. And if you feel like exploring, you can do that. We are in the age of vibe coding. You can vibe AI. So yeah, that's what I wanted to add.
I think my mates here have said everything, but this year, since I joined Isomorphic, I've discovered a different side of AI. Of course, this question, if I had to answer this question like last year, my answer could have been more LLM-oriented, RAG prompts. Probably I would recommend to take a deep learning AI course. But this year, my answer is a bit different, because I've learned that AI also involves a bit of infrastructure and learning some tools to fine-tune or train models. So I'm on that space right now. So that's, I think, why my answer might be a bit biased. But I think it's also important to understand where AI is running, not just how to do it. I think many people can start using AI tools or LLMs pretty quickly and easy through any cloud provider or any LLM provider. But then when it comes to actually use it in a scale, it's a bit different and a bit difficult to just move from a prototype or MVP to an actually solution that can work for everyone and everyone can use it through an application. So I think it's pretty fair to say that this question needs to also comes with a definition of what type of AI you want to do, because it's pretty broad.
Yeah, I'd say you can't know everything, so you need to pick your path. All right, let's go with the next question. What industries do you think will be most affected by AI? And you can feel free to pick subtypes of AI or say that maybe you don't think anything's going to be changed.
I mean, I think we know some of the industries that are affected already, which is industries like art, people making graphics for movies, 3D. I have a theory that there's going to be some pushback on mostly or entirely AI-generated content, and we might even see a new form of streaming platform whose whole shtick is only human stuff. So I kind of hope for that, in fact, because maybe I want Netflix where I can put in a prompt which is give me a cowboy series where, Harrison Ford is the girl and Helen Mirren is the cowboy. And maybe that would be entertaining, but I think I'd probably prefer real people to write stories that I care about and still watch that. But yeah, I think I have a lot of friends who are artists, so I would wave out the fact that creative industries, I think, are both the most vulnerable to data theft that's happened to train these models, and also to having their jobs automated away or mostly automated away. And I don't know, I keep thinking about the meme that was going around, which is like, I want AI to fold my laundry and do my taxes, not make my art. And so I'll leave the other panelists to give other answers, but that's mine.
Yeah, I think non-technical job families, like she said, right, artists and people who are into creative fields, for example, music creation, are definitely seeing the impact. But other than that, I feel that technical job families as well, a lot of software developers, right, a lot of companies are pushing to do vibe coding, to use like co-pilots and other tools to write a lot of code. So I personally believe that every job family, for that matter, is going to get affected in some form or the other. But yeah, the impact might vary. But we are already seeing a shift, and we might see that a lot more in the future.
Yes, just to add to the last point she said every industry will experience a bit of shift due to AI. I think one example is the people, I don't know the name they call them, permit me, I think transcribers in the court of law. I don't know if they are still used there, people that take notes of court transcripts in the court of law. AI has replaced a good number of those people. But an interesting thing is, now AI has replaced them, but the AI still needs data to train. So those transcribers, they can go and become data annotators for AI, to improve AI. So AI is going to change every industry. It's going to create some jobs and eliminate some jobs. I think that's what the whole of technology has been about, creative destruction, where through innovation, some other roles get diminished. So yeah, as they've all said, AI is going to change every industry. Some industries might be late to get into it, but AI is going to change every industry, both positively and negatively.
I think other industries like healthcare also have seen some impact on that area, especially because you can automate now some analysis and tests, especially on images. And I've seen this while working. There is some resistance from the medical side to use those tools, even when these tools are actually useful. So that's also an impact on this type of industries. But I'm very interested on the creative side. So my partner is a filmmaker, and all the time we discuss how many series, movies, short films, they use AI to generate content, not the whole film, but you can notice when they are using AI, of course. So when we talk about this, basically the point we make is, why would you use AI to create content that should actually come from your mind, your brain, basically in a creative industry? Why would you study filmmaking if you want to use AI to actually make these films? So I think there is a resistance in some industries. There are industries where it can be impacted in a positive way, still with resistance. But I'm not like let's say, I don't actually vouch for AI in creative space or domains, because I think that's where humans can actually make a huge impact.
All right, so because it keeps insisting that I go back to this question, how do you see AI impacting the junior developer population and the future of the job market? Do you see it shrink by slowly rising tides? So I guess we've already touched on the impact, but maybe we'll go a bit more into detail here. Wow, this is going crazy. I think maybe 11 is the max in the queue. I think that's what's happening. I think so. Okay, so a couple of technical problems, we're good. But yeah, I think probably a lot of people here, especially juniors, are very concerned about whether they're going to have a job. So I think that maybe this is the elephant in the room. So if any of you want to jump in on this topic.
I'm looking forward to your answer because I'm a junior developer too.
Yeah, I think jobs are definitely changing. The nature of jobs is something that has changed a lot in the last 2 years. I guess 2022 when GPT-4 came out. Since then, we have seen a lot of shift already. So right now, the big question is, at least for me, is can you upskill? Can you keep up with the changes that are happening? If you can, I still feel that job security should not be a problem. It might be maybe what my opinion is coming from the kind of role I am in or the kind of people I talk to. But I feel as long as you are getting upskilled, your employer, the people you're talking to are helping you get upskilled, you should be okay. Because if we are seeing some jobs getting filled up by AI or some automation taking over the roles, we are also seeing new kinds of roles. For example, prompt engineering, like you said, was not a thing a couple years back, but now it is a big thing, and so much development is happening, even on modeling front, right? And when we talk of use of AI in creative fields, we know that humans are still there. So human in the loop is still a big thing. And as long as we are able to keep up with the shift, we should be good. But yes, there has to be constant learning and upskilling that is required.
I think there is a different side of the skills that a junior developer should focus now, because everyone can code. And I've been running some interviews for my team this year, and I've realized that everyone can just open ChatGPT, just copy the question from CoderPad, get an answer, try to memorize it in a few seconds, and then code it. But what we are looking for as an interviewer, as a technical team, is to understand how this person is thinking about this problem. So what you can actually master your coding skills, of course, this is a Python conference. I will say that these skills, like working as a team, explaining your thinking process, learning how to say, I don't know this part, but I think this could be like a solution, possible solution, is also very skilled, especially if you're a junior or mid developer. This is something that during interviews can be really considered and valuable if you're applying for a new job, for example.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree with what Jenny said. Maybe to extend on it a little bit, I think if you think of trying to think at a higher level of abstraction, not just at the code level and what it's doing and how it's executing and what it returns, but why are you doing it? Who is it for? What problem does it solve? Is this the right way to solve the problem? In my view, this is what software engineering still is and should continue to be, and maybe the tools we use to produce the code will change. But if you have this higher level abstraction thinking, I think you'll still be very valuable. I want to offer one other thing if I can, which is it's important to recognize that we're working within this greater economic context where for almost a decade there was a huge amount of fluffy money available, and all the big IT companies had have a lot of money in their pockets, and they're just hiring like crazy. And then COVID hit, and they were like, oh my God, everything's going remote, and they way overhired. And we're still feeling the effects of that because about a year and a half, 2 years ago, as everyone knows, all the big companies started firing people, and there's something like 20% of the people looking for jobs right now are midweights and seniors and leads who were at these previously enormous companies, and frankly, they're extremely competitive. So I knew this. I was looking for a job myself like about 8-9 months ago, and it was terrible. And I've been in the industry for 20 years. So I have a huge amount of empathy for people who are just joining. And I do want to say that what we're experiencing is a moment in time which is very impacted by the economic conditions we're working under. It's not going to be like this forever, but try and work your way through it and be a little bit patient that it might be bad for a bit longer. the bigger picture of what's going to happen and how, like, interest rates are going to go, how the investment in AI is going to go, how like job teams will look into the future. I think that's, only if you have a crystal ball are you going to have a good answer to that. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on that has nothing to do with you as an individual and everything to do with market conditions. So try not to take it too personally. That's maybe the thing I would add.
I think it's great. All right, we're going to move on to the next topic. Ethics and regulatory concerns. I suspect you all have a lot to say about this. Let me just scroll through because we're kind of carried over questions. Aha, okay. This was a nice bridging topic. Moral dilemma. What should we feel ethically when we automate jobs with AI, improving efficiency and reducing headcount, yet we see no reinvestment in human roles elsewhere in the company? So is this actually an efficiency? Is this human capital?
Okay. I think an approach to look at this is, I got this from a journalist who is now using heavy AI. So the way journalism works is when they hear about an incident, they conduct interviews from first witness, and they go back to their office, listen back to the interview. They transcribe every single thing, word for word, comma for comma, before they can officially release the news. But with AI now, automating the transcription part, making what would take 8 hours before is taking just 1 hour or 2 hours, is the way he presents it is that it gives him more time to spend with his family. So what if we look at it from the aspect that AI automation is giving us time, it's giving us time to do the things that we should actually be doing, like spend time with family and all. It's saving us time. Yes, it's saving, and it's saving us costs. It's going to cost more to stay awake for over the night when you can do something in 30 minutes, when AI can do something in 30 minutes, than to stay awake. So what I'm trying to say is, I think a perspective to look at it from is, it gives us more freedom to do whatever we want to do. I remember, I don't know if it's a skit or from a movie, an old movie, when they brought the invention of washing machines, and they started asking people were asking the manufacturer that, so what do you want our wives to be doing, or what do you want? Sorry, I apologize. It was not like
Point in time, yes.
I wasn't the one that said that. What do you want us to be doing? So, and his defense was that it gives you more time to actually spend time with your family, to enjoy yourself and do the things you actually want. So it's just, it's the headcount, the reduction in headcount is a sad part of it, but we can look at it from a positive perspective of more time for humans doing what humans love doing.
I mean, I may be going to disagree with you a little. Sorry. I guess like my core disagreement is, it sounds beautiful in theory, but if you have no job, then you can't really enjoy your time with your family because you're just stressed about finding your next job, right? And I think that's maybe part of what this moral dilemma question is trying to scratch at, which is like, how should we feel inside teams when we see our headcount reducing, or when we see people's jobs being automated? And I think like the answer is, there's no easy answer. Like sometimes there are, if you are familiar with the David Graeber Bullshit Jobs book, sometimes there are genuinely bullshit jobs that maybe shouldn't be jobs, and it was a good thing that was automated, because that's not a good use of a human. It's not leaning on any of the things that people are good at. But at the same time, it's a person, and maybe that person was supporting a family or supporting a partner, and there's a real human impact. So of course that feels bad. The other thing I'd add is that, aside from saying like there's no good answer except it can feel yucky, and I respect that. But also, like, this is the not the first great wave of automation we've seen. There was the Industrial Revolution. There's the Luddites. This is this famous story about the hand weavers who were throwing the looms into the ocean off of the ships because they didn't want them to be imported and to have their jobs automated away. Perhaps we're seeing it at a higher scale, so it impacts more people. But I mean, just to get a little spicy, I don't know what the answer is, except we need a better form of capital distribution so that it doesn't matter if you have a job or not, and that opens up the topic of UBI. I don't know if you guys want to talk about that, but that's I think where I go.
I think I would just like to do a +1 to what you just said. I believe there's no easy answer to this, and a person who is without a job, they cannot enjoy time with family, and this is actually a big moral dilemma, I feel, and yeah, I think we are ultimately living in a capitalistic world, and we have to accept that as a reality, and there have been waves of automation in the past, and we are seeing one again, maybe a different form of automation and the scale, but yeah, I think no right answers here.
It's a very hard question, to be honest, but I also consider that companies that are removing these jobs or automating jobs from these people should work on a plan that can upskill them in a different thing, not just remove them. I know it's very hard to invest in people, especially if you're trying to reduce your spend as a company, but I've seen a few companies doing this, upskilling people, teaching them other skills, people that have been doing manual work, not related to AI, but just taking pictures of documents in medical companies, for example, or in clinics or hospitals. They have taught them how to analyze these images through a simple platform or UI. So I know this is not for every company, but in an ideal world, of course, people will learn different skills and they don't lose their jobs.
I'm trying not to weigh in too much because I'm not on the panel. So this is going to be the last question in this topic. The next one's going to be the impact on art, media, and can't remember what the other thing I said was, but this general area. So start sending your questions in there. But let me just have a look through these questions. I'm sorry. Yes, I like this question, especially because we have someone from outside the EU who's working in the law space. So how might differences between EU and non-EU AI regulations create challenges for developers working on international projects? No pressure, Kayode, but you can take some time to think. But if anyone wants to jump in about the impact of regulations on development work, feel free.
Maybe I can take a stab at it.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel the EU AI Act, I'm not sure if everybody knows about it here, maybe. So this was an act that was introduced last year in the EU region, basically saying that, so it's a legal and a regulatory framework to monitor all the AI development that happens in the EU regions. It also applies to companies that are based in US but operate here. So they want to look at data, what data you're using, what data are you storing, and of course the models and how are you training your models, using your models, everything. And basically it classifies all the systems, AI systems, into 4 different categories, starting from something which is at very high risk and something that the government won't allow to use, and to ending to like minimal risk, which is okay to use with least regulatory frameworks. So basically, this is just a brief of the Act. Now, talking about, I think the question is what changes, basically, when you want to develop in an EU region versus a non-EU region. I feel a lot of divergence happening. Let's say if you want to analyze the risks for a system, or maybe audit your entire systems, you need to have technical divergence. You need to run different pipelines in different regions, have different data stores for different regions, because you might need to audit it tomorrow for some reason. There's also a lot of requirement, a compliance requirement. You have to fill a lot of forms, and that requires additional overhead in terms of like filling forms and writing a lot of documentation, having trace in your code, a lot of tracing in your code. So basically, I see a lot of divergence happening on different fronts. It could be legal, it could be compliance, it could be technical. And yes, of course, a lot of cost and overhead for the companies that want to operate in EU.
I mean, just to add a little to that, I agree with all of that. Also, if you're interested in the EU AI Act, there's a talk about it by Adrian Jalili, which is tomorrow. Do you know when it is? It's later today, right? Okay, right. So in 2 talks from now, where he's going to go into more detail. But I think, like, from a developer perspective, it does mean that some of the foundation models won't get released in the EU region. We think we've seen that happen already. Was it with one of the Gemini models? Yeah. And I suspect that will happen more. It also means that if you're working from the EU and you want to develop for everyone, you're going to have to go for like the highest compliance, lowest risk option, and then give that to everyone, which is probably a good thing, but it does mean more work. And exactly as you say, the compliance burden, the regulatory burden is quite high. I read through the act with Adrienne like earlier in the year, and it's not low key. Like they're really asking for a lot, and there's a lot of fuzzy areas as well. So a lot of questions about the difference between demonstrably being fair versus showing that you're trying not to be unfair, and like where you fall in that spectrum. But yeah, it's an interesting time to be building with LLMs. Let's put it that way.
Anything to add from the African perspective?
Yeah, I think Africa is still in the early aspects of AI innovation and policy. So it's quite, what's the word for it? We don't have policies as advanced as this yet. So for Africa, we are still free to build whatever we want. We can do whatever we want for now. So sure, there are some AI policy acts being worked upon, but yeah, right now there's not much regulation for AI in Africa, unfortunately.
But it's advancing.
Yes.
Discussions are happening.
I think this is adding a lot of work for the teams that are actually saving these prompts or storing data from users. So now developers, they have to put, if they are using a chatbot in a UI, in a front end, they will have to disclose this information, as now is a time to say this assistant is AI powered, for example. So as a developer, this is just, for a front end engineer, let's say, is as simple as adding this banner. But from a DevOps perspective, or someone that is interacting with the system and where the data is stored and audited, they will have to create workflows for this. So I think this is creating more work on the monitoring side as well. Also, capabilities where cloud providers might help sometimes with logs. And when I was working at a cloud provider, I remember we worked many questions on where do I need to move my data to be compliant now? Or I'm going to pay more if I move my data. Do I need to remove entirely the support for this country because I have US users? So I think this has created more work for people that are working very close with the infrastructure side as well.
We're going to move on to the final topic, and we're running a little low on time, so I think we may have time for maybe one question in this topic. We'll see how we go. Okay, we have this. What happened? Boop, 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 boop. This has gotten exciting, it works so well with like 3 questions, right? And then you try it out in real life and off it goes. Do we have any in the new category, Maria Jose? It's okay if we don't. Okay, here we have. Yeah. So why do artists claim that AI infringes their rights? AI models train similarly to a human. We create new works by studying and taking inspiration from the past. Maybe ARs? I'm not quite sure what that is, but maybe this is not working anymore. So what's your feeling about this argument? And I have heard this said before. This is something that often comes up when discussing art and AI.
I guess if you were an artist and you create art for people, fundamentally, language models is not the audience you had in mind. And this is probably like one of the core things that this is asking, like this question is responding to. I think also, you know, there's this question of scale. Like if I create a piece of art and it's on, you know, it's on like, what is that, like book of pirated books like Freelib or whatever, like if it's on one of these websites and I'm just downloading PDFs to read them as a human, that's a fundamentally different question than if I'm an AI scraper and I scrape the entire database and then use it to, you know, either make some labeled data or to train raw for my model. So the scale and the impact is different. The lack of human permission, the lack of ability to, you know, agree or disagree to the use is also, I think, part of what makes people, especially artists, feel extremely powerless. And I'd also say, perhaps with visual art more than any other modality, we have this phenomenon where people are creating images that completely ape an existing style. So the Ghibli meme moment is a good example of this, right? Everyone is making their stupid corporate profile picture in the style of Ghibli, and we know that Miyazaki actively hates AI and actively hates these models. So it's really a cognitive dissonance that the person whose style is being reproduced, whose opinions about it is very well known, and it feels like the opposite of consent, right? It's the opposite of respect. And that's bad, right? It's not a civil society to live in. So I'm very sympathetic to artists who have this frustration. And I do think that if your art has been used to train these models, at a minimum, you should be seeing some kind of financial compensation for it. But, you know, in a better world, you should have been given the option to opt out. And you know, you can imagine permissions and consent at many levels that could have been implemented that the model builders chose not to because it was effortful and they didn't want to. Anyway, I'll stop.
Yeah, I want to add on that. Like, there should be a form of credit when your work is being used by AI, like financial credit to you. And I think it even goes beyond art. For example, I write a technical article on my experience, how to solve a particular bug, and AI reads that article to give someone an answer. I don't get anything. I don't even think it counts as someone visiting. If I have a form of AdSense on my website, it doesn't count as revenue for me. I don't get credited, and I've provided a solution. So there is a missing reward function somewhere. There is a need for a reward function for authors of. We know that AI is not just generating things out of nowhere. It is learning from history. It is learning from what it has been taught. It is learning from what humans have put out there. The humans that have put out these things need to be rewarded in a way. And I feel like that's a big thing that AI should, AI engineers, big AI companies should work on.
Yeah, I think it boils down to developer accountability and responsibility. When we as developers are building systems fully aware of what we are doing, I think it's also a developer's responsibility to ensure that you are not using copyrighted, images or any other content form for that matter. Also, I think what is really getting really important with as LLMs are getting developed is watermarking, so that people, audiences, platforms, and the content that's get created, people just know if this is human generated or machine generated. So I think there was a talk in EuroPython last year about model watermarking. It is a really interesting talk. So I think, yes, I think it's like she said, right? I think I really feel for the people who have to go through this and who don't actually give the consent for their work to be copied and their work to be shared without their permission. It's something that's on developers and the companies who are sponsoring such projects?
Just quickly, I think the watermarking was tested by OpenAI this year in April, but it was only for free accounts. So that means if you're paying to use ChatGPT and you generate an image, it won't be watermarked. So it's pretty unfair, of course, because again, if you're paying for using it, and this should be a regulation, then this image or content that has been created should be watermarked anyways. But I think there are no regulations right now for this type of content. So I think it's in a fuzzy area right now with all the regulations.
We've got time for one more question, as long as you're okay with answering it somewhat briefly. You're all right? Cool, cool. All right, so on the positive side, what role might AI play in preserving cultural heritage, kind of thinking about your talk, while also enabling new forms of artistic innovation? Go ahead.
Yeah, so my work is based on that, basically. So there are different aspects of culture. There is the language aspect, there is food aspect, there is even recreational aspect. For example, games. So AI has really helped in digitizing languages, African languages, to be honest. We have, in Nigeria alone, we have more than 200 languages, and it extends to other African countries like that. The AI can be used in preserving culture because it helps us digitize some aspect of culture. For example, if I asked what was the last game any one of us played, it's going to be a mobile game or a video game, a digital game. When last did we play a board game? Even if the game was a board game, when last did we play an hand on the board game and over the board game? It has been a while. So the traditional games, local games, have been threatened by the digital shift, and that leaves a gap where we can use AI to digitize this aspect of culture that has been left behind by technology. So I feel like we can try to work on, it's something that I'm interested in, and I think more people should be interested in documenting, digitizing their culture using AI.
I'll just throw in one thing to extend on that. I think I've seen some really beautiful personal archival projects out there. So one which is focused on older people, and the idea is that you give this interface to your parents or your grandparents and ask them to answer a question or two every day. And the idea is that you get to sort of elicit their human story, their like how they met their partner and how their life elapsed, and it's a way of slowly, gently archiving their life story, and it's also a way of preserving the culture of your family. And I think like this is a nice sort of unitary way of thinking about the preservation of culture. And of course, what AI is good at here is sort of drifting its way through the conversation and trying to cover different topics, but also be responsive and make it a more organic experience, which traditional chatbots were terrible at, as we all know. So. Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunities for AI to give us a more humane, more conversational interface, and also to drip feed data slowly over time, as opposed to thinking about it as one collection. And I think that's an interesting inversion of a kind of classical data collection paradigm.
My favorite use of AI for this topic is 3D reconstruction or improving the quality of old images and pictures. I think that's the most useful way to use AI for art. But also with movies that have been produced or created films, like old films, thanks to AI, and of course, not LLMs, but AI many companies have been able to improve the quality, and that's why we have old movies from Hitchcock or any like big genius in filmmaking. Now we can watch them in 4K.
Yeah, I think AI is like any other technology. It really depends on how you use it. If used right, I think there is a lot that AI can add to aid human creativity. There's so much that's possible today. For example, I just saw a video on Instagram of an apple eating an apple. I don't know if it's possible to see that ever, right? So it's ultimately on what people want to see and how you use it. And I definitely see potential even in creative fields. I understand there are so many things that are going wrong with AI, but also if used right, it can also be really beneficial.
So that's the last question. I'm so sorry there's so many that we couldn't get to. Obviously, we only have 45 minutes or so. Our panelists will be around for the rest of the conference. As you see, they're amazing. They're fonts of knowledge. Please come, and it's okay if they come and ask you the question. Yeah, please come and ask them the questions one-on-one. Please go to their sessions, and can we get a massive round of applause for them? So don't leave yet, because now we have a quiz. So you feel free to sit, and you don't need to stay on the stage for this. It'll be a little awkward. All right, so for everyone else, if you have not already joined Menti, please do. If you've already joined, it's the same session. You do not need to rejoin. I'm going to lay out the prizes to entice you, make you more competitive.
Feel free to unwrap one if you want.
I might hand that over to you while I am and you can show it around. All right. Are we all ready? Yes, 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 yes. Okay. So basically, it's fastest and most correct. There's only one way to be correct. It is a binary. But faster, more points. Are we ready? All right. The seminal 2017 paper about transformer models is called Blank is All You Need. And here is one of the prizes on offer. And it is, of course, Attention, All You Need, the paper that changed everything. So let's check out the leaderboard. Ooh, very close. So Jay is in the lead, but it's anyone's game at this point. Let's go. Question number 2. When was ChatGPT released, the model that kicked off the current hype that we're in right now? Almost there. And that's right, it was November 2022. Those who answered September, you're thinking of Copilot. All right, let's see how we're going now. Ooh, a shake-up. And who's going to be on top? Sakura, well done. Okay, we're on question 2 of 7. Now we're going to question 3. What does the Deep Learning Model GAN stand for? What does the acronym GAN stand for? Three seconds left. All right, it is Generative Adversarial Networks, the model that changed everything with image generation. Oh, Bodie McBoatface, I love that nickname. I was thinky yesterday. Leo. Leo's on top. All right. Question 4. What is the name of DeepMind's AI, which was the first to beat a human player in Go? This is a landmark model. 6 seconds. Get your answers in. It is AlphaGo. All right. Oh, Sakura, are you going to maintain your lead? Leo. All right, question 5. Which revolutionary LLM was released in January 2025? January of this year. Another LLM that shook up everything. And it is, of course, DeepSeek R1, the one that threw the entire industry into a tailspin. That was fun. I was at a conference. I was about to give another talk about LLMs, and then this came out. I'm like, I'm not dealing with this. Okay, Leo, still on top. Question 6. Remember, it's top 3 prizes, or top 3 winner prize. Which model first popularized realistic AI art using text prompts in 2022? I remember quite a few. There was one that was like Mickey Mouse at a court case. That's right, it is DALL-E 2. Midjourney came a little bit later. All right. Ooh, whoa, whoa, whoa. An upset, Arbor. And we're on the last question. Okay, come on. What is the name of the open source framework for building AI agents? AI agents, the hottest thing this year. You are all tired of hearing about them. So I am sure you're going to know the answer to this question. And it is LangChain. And this means, oh, that was a good echo. Who's going to win? It's Arbor! Woo! So, wow, cool. Okay, Arbor, Sakura, and Jonas, please come up. So, you have first pick of prize tomorrow. So would you like one of the ethics litmus tests? What would you like? All right.
Arbor that.
So, which? No problem. And wait, I'm missing a winner. Wait. So I had Arbor, Sakura, Janice. Woo! And with that, we're done. Thank you so much. Please do not forget to go to our panelist sessions. As you can see, they're all amazing. And thank you so much for joining. Have a beautiful rest of conference.